Ladies and gentlemen, this is a short story. Thank you to Jeff Helbeson. This is a short story called Crazy.
This dialogue is transcribed from repeated visits with a patient in the Aaronsville Correctional Center in West Virginia. Madeline, a 36-year-old woman, was sentenced to life imprisonment after the brutal slaying of her boyfriend during sexual intercourse. According to police reports, Madeline sat with the remains of the man for 3 days after the murder until police arrived on the scene. They found her in the same room as the body, still coated with blood and malnourished. 3 doctors studied her behavior for a total period of 8 months, and the unanimous conclusion they reached was that Madeline was not of sound mind when she committed the act, which involved an ice pick, an oak board from the back of a chair, and eventually a chef's knife. Furthermore, she continued to show signs of both paranoia and delusions of grandeur long after the murder, swaying back and forth between the two, much like manic depression. For 3.5 years, Madeline has stayed at the Aaronsville Correctional Center, and she has shown no signs of behavioral improvement. She stays in a room by herself, usually playing solitaire on her bed. She talks to herself regularly and out loud, usually in a slight southern accent, although not in a very loud voice, according to surveillance videotape. Her family abandoned her after the murder. Occasionally, she requests newspapers to read, but she's usually denied them. She never received visitors until the sessions with myself. The following excerpts are from dialogues I have had with her, although I am tempted to say that they are monologues. She wasn't very interested in speaking with me. Rather, she was more interested in opening herself up to someone for the first time in years, someone who was willing to listen. At times, I began to feel like a surrogate parent. I try not to think of what will happen when our sessions end. And for the record, Madeline is not her real name.
I know they're watching me. They've got these stupid cameras everywhere. See, there's one behind the vent there. Hide there. And they probably got some behind the mirror where that window used to be. And you know, they probably actually have some behind where the windows used to be, but they also probably had some behind where the mirrors used to be as well. It wouldn't be so bad, I guess. I mean, there's not much for me to do sitting here anyway. But they watch me when I dress, too. I mean, watching me when I'm naked. What is that supposed to do to a person? Now, I don't know what they're watching for anyway. It's not like I can do anything in here. I eat everything with a spoon. I ain't never been violent. And all I ever do over here is sit over here in this bed and play solitaire. Solitaire's really actually very relaxing, you know, and I think it keeps your brain alive too. And most people think that you can't win at solitaire, like the chances of winning are like 2% or something, but the thing is, you can win like half of the time. And I think that's a key, too, knowing that you can win half the time. I mean, the last 4 rounds I played, I actually won 2 of the rounds. Now, like, I don't say like go praise me or anything because I won 2 rounds of solitaire, but it makes a point that as long as you know what you're doing and you actually think about it, your chances are that you will win. The odds are better. I think people just forget to watch the cards. Half the time, the reason why you lose is because you forget something so obvious. It's like you're looking for a card through the deck, and the whole time it's just sitting there in another pile just waiting to be moved over. And the whole time you just forget to move it. People just forget to pay attention. They gotta pay attention. You know, I'd like to see the news. I hate TV, but I'd like to see what other acts other people are doing. Anything like mine? Has anyone else lost it like me? You know, I bet my story wasn't even on the news for like more than 30 seconds. And I bet the news person had this tone to their voice that was just like, oh, that poor crazy thing. Like, that's what you get when you lose it, I guess. But I want to see what's happening in the real world. I just want to see what, you know, the weather is like, even though I ain't never seen the sun in like a year or 2. Or to hear sports scores. They won't let me have a TV in this room. I think they think I'm gonna like hotwire or something, like I'm gonna try to electrocute the whole building with a stupid television set. They let me have a lamp in here though, like I can't do anything with that, but no TV. They won't even let me have a newspaper. I mean, what is a person gonna do with a newspaper? Like, set it on fire or something? I mean, if I had matches or something, but it's like this. I ain't never been violent to nobody in all the time I've been here, and I haven't laid a hand onto a guard even though they have tried so many times to lay a hand on me, and I haven't caused one single problem in this whole damn place, and what do I get? I don't even get a TV or a newspaper. You know, I don't really have an accent. You see, don't I sound a little different now with my regular voice? I picked it up, that southern voice, when I decided to start sounding crazy. You see, I'm not really crazy. I just know what kind of shit they do to you when you're in prison. I think it's bad enough in here. I would have had the shit kicked out of me. I'd have been sodomized before I knew it if I was in prison. I think this voice makes me sound a little more strange. I'm actually from New York. I moved a lot. I spent a lot of time actually in my early years in Ohio. But if just changing my voice a little will help me from going to prison, well, I can do that. Here it's kind of nice. I don't have to deal with people that often, and all the crazy people around here think I'm some sort of tough bitch because I mutilated some guy who was raping me. Oh, you didn't hear that part, did you? You know, those damn lawyers thought it was, since I wasn't a virgin, I must have been wanting him all the time. And he wasn't even my boyfriend, he was just some guy that I knew. We went out every couple of weeks, and I never even slept with him before. What a fucked up place. You see, I gotta think of it this way. I really had no choice but to do what I did. In a way, it was self-defense because I didn't want that little piece of shit doing this to me. I mean, what the hell gave him the right to do that? Where does he get off taking me like that? Like I'm some butcher shop piece of meat that he could just buy and abuse or whatever. Well, anyway, I know it's all self-defense and all, but at the same time, I know I flipped, but it's because of, well, shit that happened to me in my past. And yeah, I know, I didn't come from any rich family like you did, and I never even came from a family with a dad. But when you go through all of these boyfriends of your mom coming in and hitting you or touching you or whatever, you know it's going to mess you up. Yeah, I know people try to use the "my parents beat me" line, and it's getting to the point where no one really believes it anymore. But if some person goes through all of their life suppressing something that they shouldn't have to suppress, then one day it's just going to come up and hit them. It's going to punch them in the face. It's going to make them go crazy, even if it's just for a little while. Hey, I won. Huh, cool. Society's kind of weird. You know, it's like they teach you to do things that aren't normal, that don't feel right down deep in your bones, but you have to do them anyway because someone somewhere decided that this would be normal. Everyone around you suppresses stuff. And when you see that, it tells you that you're supposed to suppress it and not hide it from the rest of the world too. Like, if we all just hide it for a little while, it'll all just go away. Maybe it does, until someone like me blows up and can't take hiding all that stuff anymore. But then the rest of the world can just say that we're just crazy and therefore it's unexplainable why we did what we did. And then they could just all stuff it away and say, brush it off and say that we can all go back to normal again. It's like emotion. People are taught to hide their emotions. Men are taught not to actually cry or things, and women are taught to be emotional, and men are told to think that it's crazy. So when something really shitty happens to someone, like a guy loses his job or something, and then he just sits in front of a friend and he breaks down and cries, the other guy thinks that he's crazy for crying, and then the guy rejects the guy that's crying, making him feel even worse, making the guy bottle it all back up inside of him. I think people are like Pepsi bottles. Do you remember those glass bottles? Pop always tasted better out of those bottles. You just fit your lips around them better. It just tasted so much more awesome. You could swig it down. Well, I think people are like Pepsi bottles. Like, they have all this potential for all this energy, and the whole world just keeps shaking them up, and then some people lose their heads, and the top goes off, and all this icky stuff comes shooting all over the place, and all these other Pepsi bottles want to hide from all that poor stuff, and then that poor guy has no Pepsi left. How can you do anything when you've got no Pepsi left? But then sometimes you might lose it, but you don't lose all of your Pepsi, but then everyone thinks that you've got no Pepsi left in you, and then people keep thinking that you have nothing less, and they treat you like you shouldn't be allowed to, you know, tie your own shoelaces, and they think that they should watch you while you're getting undressed. Can anyone turn those cameras off? Actually, wait, I heard a story in here recently, a while ago, sometime ago, this guy named Tony. He was this guy that was in here for murder, and he was here, and he went crazy, and he cut off his own scrotum. Now, I don't know how a man survived something like that, but I guess he did, because he was in here, and from what I hear, he was afterward, without any balls, using the payphone that was at the front and calling 1-800 numbers to prank whoever was on the other end of the line. Now, I guess he kept calling these two women, and they just couldn't take it anymore, so I guess they traced the call or something. And they got the number for this hospital, and they talked to his doctor. I think he told them that Tony cut his balls off. Now, I thought Dr. Patient records were private, but I suppose that doesn't matter because we're just crazy prisoners. Killers don't matter or anything. But he told these girls that Tony cut his balls off. So anyway, after a while, this guy, Tony, calls them back. He starts talking dirty to them, not knowing that they knew he was a murderer with no balls. And they just laughed and made fun of him and told him that they knew, and he just hung up in the phone and he never actually called them back. A true story, I swear to God. I mean, can you imagine him wondering how they knew? Or were they just making this stuff up as a joke? Or... Did you know that I write? I figured that if they don't let me read anything, maybe I could just put things down on paper and read it to myself, I guess. Well, I try to write poetry, but it just don't come out right. I've been trying to write about the things that I've gone through. You know what I'm talking about. Well, I just figured that if other people can be in prison and have bestsellers that make a ton of money, then maybe I could. I mean, my story's better than half the stuff that's out there, and I know that there are a lot of women who have this same part of them, have this tiny little part of them that want to do exactly what I did. I think all women feel it, but most of them are taught to suppress it, to keep it all bottled up like that. But now that I think of it, what am I going to do with a bunch of money anyway? I mean, I'm never going to get out of here to enjoy it or anything. And besides, how could I even get anybody to actually want to read it since everybody here thinks I'm crazy? Sometimes I get so depressed. It's like I'm never going to get out of here. I think I wanted to have kids one day. It's easier, I guess, not having to see kids, but I guess I don't miss them all that much then, but... For the longest time, they tried to get doctors to come in here and talk to me, and you know what they did? They brought men doctors, one after another, and then they couldn't figure out why the hell I wouldn't talk to anyone. Amazing. I mean, people don't really think, do they? I guess it's hard, being in here and all. I mean, I was going to go back to school. I had already taken my GED and graduated high school, and I was going to go to the local community college. It was going to be different. Sometimes I wonder, you know, why this had to happen to me, why I had to snap. I really don't think I could have controlled it, or I don't think it could have gone any other way. It's hard. I have to find stuff to do because sometimes all I want to do is just sleep all day and night, and I suppose I could, but then what had happened to me? At least if I write a book about my life, about this whole stupid world, then maybe everyone would understand. It wasn't really my fault. I mean, I think we women have enough to deal with in our regular lives, and then they heap all this sexism crap on us, and they just expect us to not be angry about it because we're taught to deal with it all of our lives. Maybe this guy was a straw that broke the camel's back or something. Maybe he was just some rapist. Maybe he was just another drunk guy who thought he could do whatever he wanted with me because he was the man and I was his girl. Or some shit that didn't even matter, but shit does matter. At least to me it does. I know I've got a lot of healing to do, but I haven't really thought about doing it. I mean, what have I got to heal for anyway? To get out of here and go to prison? Then I'll just get abused by guards over there and have to watch my back every second of the day. At least here people watch my back for me. They think everything and anything in the world could harm me, even myself. So they'll do everything to protect me so much, though so overprotective that nothing can go wrong. Unless it goes wrong in my own mind. Thank you very much.